Welcome to wasmCloud Wednesday for August 18th, 2021. As usual, we'd like to get started with a demo. So Brooks, hand it off to you.
All right, hello. I'm gonna, hopefully this will work okay. Can everybody see my big old terminal here? Awesome. So the first thing that I wanted to show off a couple of upgrades and features that we've added into the washboard, the wasmCloud dashboard over the past couple of weeks that haven't quite been enough to only show in a demo, and then kind of extend Kevin's demo from last week with the whole Jetstream upgrades. So I'm starting on kind of a blank slate here because I just want to first of all drive home the kind of simplicity in starting Nats with Jetstream support. So to start Nats for a wasmCloud host, we now make use of Jetstream for our distributed cache. And in order to enable that, you just need the -js parameter, and that will automatically enable Jetstream for Nats. That's all that you need to do. And it's functionally the same as starting Nats as before. You just need a little parameter. So other than that, I'm going to go ahead and get started by starting up my my wasmCloud host. This is from like a local branch that I'm working on. And you can kind of see some logs that Kevin mentioned last week talking about how we're joining Jetstream. But anyways, so let me go ahead and go to this dashboard. Now, what you can see here is pretty much what you've seen before with the wasmCloud dashboard. The first thing that I wanted to show off is we have some additional mechanisms for validating user input and catching errors before you put your runtime in an unusable state, or at least you get to a point where you're causing errors and you don't know about it. So for example, here I have the form fill for starting an actor from an OCI registry set up to require these fields. You can't do things like start less than one replica. And when you start an actor, such as like Echo 2.1, everything goes off without a hitch because that's a OCI reference that we know about. But if you were to do Echo 3.4.0 or something that we haven't published, we'll go ahead and give you some little context here that we couldn't find that manifest for this resource. So you're free to adjust that back to the other instance of the actor that you wanted to do. You can actually see my tests for AAA that I was making sure that didn't work. And the same thing will happen for a provider from an OCI registry if you type in an OCI reference that's invalid, for example. So this is nice because before or the default behavior was we would pass invalid OCI references to the host. That would fail to start the provider, which is fine on the host side. It just wouldn't give you any context clues in the UI. So that was the first thing that I wanted to show off. Secondly, and I don't think I actually have a provider archive built locally to do this, but all right, well, you can see my screen, so you can actually see like the file thing here. We actually don't support you starting a provider anymore from an executable, which was very obviously a big security hole. It was just useful for testing. Now you start providers from file with a provider archive file, which is pretty much what everybody has been used to anyways with wasmCloud. But we can start things from OCI registries just as before. And I believe I've already demoed the link definition where the actor public key and the provided public key are pretty much already auto-filled here, and we auto-populate link name and contract ID to make that easier. But anyways, we can just define a link definition for Echo. Now, this is a demo that you've seen many a time, checking out your, oh no. Did I do the wrong thing? Maybe I did. Well, anyways, you've seen this Echo demo many a time. But now what I'd love to show is a different way to start your wasmCloud host. Now, if you look at my terminal, I started this from a local repository, and that's using all the Elixir tooling. It's great for a development environment, but kind of a call to action and something that you all can do now, as long as you have Nats downloaded, is I've created a GitHub action to manually build the release tarballs, which is essentially what we plan to do with our GitHub releases. Anytime we make a release, we'll attach the tarballs for your architecture and for your operating system. So for now, we have Linux and Mac OS, but this just builds it manually. We can use this for development, just for ensuring that we can build usable release artifacts. But I'll go ahead and link this run in the Zoom chat so that you all can see it, and I'll send it out in the Slack later. But I'm going to start another wasmCloud host with from this archive, just to show you what you would have to do. So what I can do here is I can go ahead and close down. You know what? I'll keep it going for now. So I've downloaded the wasmCloud host from GitHub. This is actually a zip file, which is not what we would distribute. It would be this gzip tarball, but the GitHub action just puts it in a zip file. I'll make a file for it to go to, and then extract it to that folder. Now, taking a look in this wasmCloud host directory, this is what you're going to see when you download the release tarball to run wasmCloud from now on, the Elixir OTP host. Instead of a single binary, it's this gzipped these gzipped tar resources, and it includes a couple of things like shared libraries for the operating system. ERTS is short for the Elixir runtime system, and some of the extra effort that we put into our CI here is with the wasmCloud app, which just means that when you run wasmCloud host on your local machine, you don't need to have the Elixir runtime already on your system. So this can be done from a fairly basic installation of Linux. You need simple things, but nothing like the full Elixir runtime. So we can actually run that using the wasmCloud host. It's like a shell script with the foreground. With the foreground argument that runs it and sticks it in the and attaches your terminal to it so that you can see output just like you're used to. And if we go back to our browser, this is running on port 4000. We can see our other wasmCloud dashboard. And now this is the one that is running from the tarball distribution. So it's really not much different, but you can see that after a few seconds, it actually is able to pick up the resources from any other hosts that are running in the lattice. You can see that it may still be waiting on things like a health check to make sure that everything is healthy. But we can immediately start our actors on this host, for example, and you can see this view of the lattice is like an overall lattice view. It shows resources from all hosts, and provided everything is set up correctly, then requests going to the echo actor would essentially just like round robin between all of these hosts. Now, this is great. This may have been the first time that we actually demoed showing multiple hosts with the dashboard. A next step here is filtering by individual hosts so that you only see resources for a specific host, and that's something that we'll demo later. But the only other thing I wanted to show off today is if we actually close down all of these hosts, then you'll see that the link definition that we created ends up persisting, and that's thanks to Jetstream. So we can close both of the hosts that we were running, and then maybe go ahead and start up an additional host from the release distribution. And well, I didn't actually close out of it, so maybe the effect was lost, but there are no running actors or providers, but the link definitions persist whether or not you have a running host on at any time. So as soon as providers are able to query their own link definitions when they start up, I could only start the actor and the provider, and then the link definition would be live immediately. So that was, I guess, a couple of things. What I wanted to show off today is just some of the error handling that we have in the UI, which makes it a little more user-friendly. I wanted to show off Jetstream working with the dashboard, since that was some of the local improvements or the recent improvements that we put in. And I also wanted to show grabbing this gzip tarball from GitHub, because this is going to be essentially our primary method of distribution. You go to GitHub and you download your wasmCloud host distribution from the releases page. And then you just simply run the enclosed wasmCloud host script. Don't need Elixir or anything like that. So any questions? Anybody want me to talk a little bit more about anything else?
I'll ask some questions here. Now that Jetstream's been, integrated in, and we've got this great use case here, what are some other potential use cases? Is this something that people in the community can pick up and use for their own applications, or, in their own apps? And Brooks, this may be as much a question for Kevin as it is for you.
Yeah, the first initial thing that comes to my mind, which is just that we're populating more from Jetstream than just link definitions. For example, like we populate claims and OCI references, so we're getting a nice robust use of this cache across wasmCloud. As far as plugging into your own applications, Wash and the control interface supports querying things from the distributed cache in Jetstream. Now that's a little nuanced because a wasmCloud host has to answer that query, but things like a feature that we haven't supported before from Wash, which is querying link definitions and having a way to know that a link definition has been established, is now possible via Jetstream. Kevin, I don't know if you want to extend that answer a little bit with maybe, or Steve, with how community members could plug in.
I think one of Liam's, part of Liam's question might have been that Jetstream is this really amazing distributed cache, distributed key value store, and we might be able to introduce a key value, either a back end of the key value capability provider that could let somebody use that distributed cache, distributed fault tolerant cache, with the key value provider or something similar. And I think it'd be fantastic functionality to have in the future.
Yeah, so in short, there's nothing preventing somebody from creating a capability provider that sits on top of Jetstream. We just haven't implemented anything like that ourselves.
Thank you, Kevin. I think that's more along the lines of what I was really trying to tease a little bit. Is that worth calling out on our backlog? Because I feel like, now that we have, validated the functionality, it feels like that could be, super useful from just a capability perspective.
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Any other questions for Brooks, Justin, Jared, Jordan?
No, it looks awesome, man.
Thank you.
All right, that's great. Well, Brooks, thank you so much for the demo. A quick community announcements. Final selections for WASM Day for KubeCon NA are being made this week. A round of questions was sent out on a number of the submissions. So please, we're going to try to get results announced on Monday of next week. So just watch out for those. I was really excited. We ended up with well over 20 great submissions, including some really fun ones like WebAssembly running in a database, which is another just great use case all the way across the board. there was a marked rise in end user talks, including major financials and other non-traditional kind of tech companies that want to talk about the progress that they're making with WebAssembly. So we're going to try to balance those talks out as we go. Right now, we're still on track for KubeCon NA. As of today, to my awareness, it's still a dual event, including on-prem. wasmCloud will be represented on the sort of startup floor in the Cosmonic booth. So if you can make it, let me know. And we'll certainly be happy to connect with you on site while we're there. And I think that's about it for community stuff. WASM Time meeting is still out and running there. And let's see, update on the wasmCloud donation should be finally complete as of Friday of this week to the CNCF. So we're already mostly there. There's still a couple I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed, but good progress along the board there. And then I think, Steve, if we can hand off to you, maybe you could do a quick overview of our sprint. What did we accomplish last week? What are we working on this week?
You bet. So we closed 43 issues last week. I'm doing weekly updates in the general channel on wasmCloud Slack. So please follow on there. We have some new repos. There's a interfaces repo that has a bunch of our Smithy interfaces. Those are for actors and capability providers. And also we're going to be adding the internal control interface that we're using in between our own apps. So we're using Smithy IDL and the code generation from that. For those, within a day or so, you should see some example actors and capability providers. They're in GitHub now, but they're in branches. We need to put them into main. One of the things we're a little behind on is the documentation. So wasmcloud.dev is a little out of date. All the repos don't have readmes fleshed out. So that's one of the next things we're working on. Also, we're putting together some unit tests for those interfaces. So it's another thing that we have that we didn't really have do a great job in the .18 world. So keep an eye out for the sample code and documentation over the next week.
That's wonderful. And Steve, are there any specific calls to action that you would flag out on the board as hung out now?
What's your intent?
Any just calls to action or things that you would like eyes on or request for, somebody to look at or anything like that? I don't know. It just
I'll have some of those. I'll have some of those next week.
Okay, super. All right. So open floor, I guess. Kevin or Brooks, anything on the OTP release that you want to highlight as we're sort of marching towards completion here for wasmCloud .50?
The only thing that I kind of talked about it during the demo, but if anybody's interested, I'd love it if you could try to download that that zipped up archive. If you either have an x86 Linux or an x86 Mac machine, it'll work. I'd love to see if it just works out of the box on your machine with what you have on there without downloading anything special. If you're interested, maybe if you could just shoot me a DM, I'll send you the link. That would be awesome.
All right, that's great. And then next week, we'll have a demonstration of the new JavaScript runtime for wasmCloud, which we have flirted with for a while, and Kalshik is just getting wrapped up. We did post a POC video into channel. If you are interested and want to give some feedback on that, it's pretty amazing to start to see the vision come together around March of the runtimes and so forth. If there are no other updates on development, I guess open floor here. Anyone have anything they want to bring up for discussion or issues? ideas? All right, this could be a relatively quick meeting today. Anybody have any personal things they want to bring up and share in camera? Nothing? Everybody tired in August? Everybody's kids going back to school? All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here today. As always, we'll hang out and we can chat from here. See you, folks.